Hello, my friends. My name is Bill Blair, and I am here today. First of all, before I do anything, I would like to say thank you very much for your time. I know you're an extremely busy group of people, and your time is valuable. So thank you very much for allowing me this time. I'm here to share with you a dream that I've been living with for quite a while, and having gotten up a little bit of my age, I thought I would give this one more try at trying to bring to fruition. And it's what it really is a it's an airplane museum and combination gift and an activity center along with a restaurant. Okay, now I'll explain that step by step for you in just a moment here, but I want to share where I'm coming from. Okay, first of all, I was in the Air Force when I was a young boy, and did quite well as a mechanic, a jet fighter mechanic. Was acclaimed by my squadron commander and base commander for something I did, as well as my honor student in my basic training with the jet planes. And then after the military career, I decided to continue my flying interest and became a private pilot. So aviation is in my heart. It's something that I have an affinity for, and I decided to do something with that. And that item that I'm going to do is to build an airplane museum and facilities, as I mentioned earlier. I chose that time period of early aviation, just prior to the Wright brothers on up through that creation of the airplane into 1918 at the end of it. I didn't go any further because people know about that. That seems to be readily available. But you ask people about Wilbur and Orville Wright, and I challenge you to find many people that actually know, and especially somebody that's a young kid, like high school or teenager, that they just don't know. And if they did know, you ask them, what do you know about him? Okay, and they say, oh, he was the first airplane flyer. Yeah, okay, that's nice. Now tell me something more. Okay, but that's it. It's a part of our history that our youth, as well as our adults, just don't seem to know any more about. And I would like, I have a program that I've been putting together for quite a few years that I think will knock the socks off of the people that have a chance to participate in it with it. And I'm extremely proud to present it. And let me make my point that I'm trying to say in reference to knowledge of aviation. Okay, I just mentioned Orville and Wilbur Wright. Yeah, they may know something, very little, but they know. Let me ask you, do you know Otto Lilienthal, what he did, who he was? How about Alberto Santos Dumont, okay, the Brazilian who spent time in France, okay? Both those two people very active in the world of aviation. As a matter of fact, Otto Lilienthal, and first let me back up. Everybody says Wilbur Wright and Orville Wright were the first ones to fly. Well, that's not really true. History is misleading you a little bit, because Otto Lilienthal made over 2,000 flights in a glider, which is where aviation started. It started out as a glider. And then Alberto Santos Dumont was another one. It was flying before the Wright brothers, yet nobody knows about him. How about Louis Beirut? I guess that's pronounced Blue Road. Okay, he would challenge you also, because he was the first pilot to fly across the English Channel. Now, I grant you, he just barely made it because he crashed on the other shore as he got there, but he did do it, and he won the prize for the money at that point in time. Now, let me get back to the aviation thing. So, my airplane museum, I'm anticipating it being about 10,000 square feet of space, And in the entrance of this thing will be obviously early aviation, because you'll look around and suspended from the ceiling, you'll see several 1/3 scale model airplanes of that time period, okay, hanging there. And then around the room, you'll walk around the room, and all kinds of paraphernalia that I've built up over the year. And one of the items that I'm very proud of is a collection of airplanes that almost 40 years ago I started to build, and it took me about 20 years to build them all, but I built about 30, maybe 40 of them, and they're replicas of that era airplane. And this particular one right here that you're seeing I'm holding is obviously, it's a German airplane, and it's a bomber. It's the Gotha G.V. It was of 1917 era. Now, what I'd really like you to look at real close is, you notice the propellers? They're cotter pins. You notice the body, the windshield is a Woodruff key, okay? And then the body is nuts and bolts. The wheels are cap nuts with lock washers as wheels and hubs, okay? In other words, it's a little bit of sheet metal and some welding rod. So it's stuff they're made out of that are garage stuff you find in your garage, the average garage, okay? And when you come into this museum, you're going to see these and pictures of them to see how close I came to actually emulating the actual item at the point in time. I'm very proud of these. Matter of fact, I showed these to somebody one time and asked them what to do with them, and it was suggested to me that I donate them to the National Museum in Washington, D.C., but I don't know, I just couldn't let go of my heart into these things. I spent so much time with them. But these are about 30 or so of them will be on display in this museum. Now, as you go around the museum, then there will be a series of different things, like pictures and paraphernalia and wall glass counters with stuff in them that I don't want people touching. One of the areas that we'll have a bank of about 5 or 6 video screens with videos of Wilbur and Orville Wright from their birth date through the development of the airplane to the end of their career, okay? And you go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 and so on, right? And then after that, there'll be another series of videos, the same thing, premise anyhow, of presentations of stuff that, it's some videos that they're over 100 years old. Well, they're not mine are copies, obviously, but they're copies of things that are over 100 years old that people have never seen, and I just want to share them with people, okay? And then in the balcony or the main floor area would be a series of these bulletin boards. Actually, they're room divider or office dividers, like cubicle dividers, only they're straight up and down. And on each side, I use them as bulletin boards. And there's a whole slew of different composites of different things and events and times that are on there that they're history. They're things kids should know. We need to pass on. In reference to that, okay, in reference to kids, we anticipate and are shooting for teachers to bring their kids by the busloads, the whole class, to this thing. And then when they check in the gate, we'll give them a sheet, depending on their grade, how many questions and how hard the questions are. For instance, one question, one grade, maybe 20 questions. And those answers are on the information in that room, and they just got to find it, okay? And of course, if you get, like, say, 15 out of 20, and you do this within 20 minutes or so, you get some kind of reward, and we're deciding on what that would be. Obviously, it'd be some kind of winners would get their name on some kind of a board that would post them, so everybody in the valley in their community would know they were successful with that. And then now I'm going to move on there, because there's just so many things that we can do within that realm, but I don't have time here. I'm going to move on from it as if I were moving to a next room. The next room would have it's what we call our activities area of the what I might refer to as the aerodrome, okay? To start with, I'm going to have 4, I've already purchased them, 4 Oculent 3D type goggles where you sit in a chair. And of course the chairs are motion activated, so it's kind of kicks in to help with the senses of the airplane as they're flying. In other words, they're going to fly an airplane, a World War One airplane, without ever leaving the ground, okay? And it might be something like as simple as, today I'll be the American, tomorrow you be the, and you can be the Red Baron. And what we would do is we would do combat and see who can shoot down the other one. Okay, now, in the vein of that thought and that process, I envision us developing a club, a flying club, to where you would join this, like say for so much fee to join it, and then so much dues a month, and then you come in and you, as you progressively learn to fly, you eventually go into competition. And everybody that joins the club starts out as a second lieutenant in the Royal Air Force. What do we call it? Actually, we call it the 94th Aero Squadron, which is, does that ring a bell with anybody? How about Lafayette Escadrille? Okay, same thing. Let's assume the club's up and we got 15, 20, 30 members, okay? And as they start out, as they get what we call a kill, it was bad terminology, but that's the way it was in the day. You get 5 kills, you get promoted to first lieutenant, okay? And when you make first lieutenant, you get also not only acknowledgement of your rank, but you get a 5% discount in the museum on everything, whether food, drink, services, whatever. Now, you get 5 more kills and you grow up the rank to captain. And now you get 10%. In other words, every rank you go up, you get 5% more until you become a general. If you become a general in the 94th Aero Squadron, I don't think there will be many, at least I'm hoping not, because I'm giving away a lot. We anticipate giving 50% discount. In other words, you could bring your family in there and have dinner and get 50% discount, okay? So there's a reason to have fun and enjoy your life, okay? Now, also in that arena, when you join the club, we would give you a coffee mug that would have the squadron logo and your name and rank on it at that time. And then in our restaurant, which I'm going to talk about later, on a rack would be the coffee mugs of all the people that are in the squadron. And as you go up in rank, your coffee cup would get moved up on a shelf as it goes up and as people come in. So what you would do is, I can visualize somebody coming in to have a cup of coffee or dinner or something. He'd go into the restaurant, he'd go over to the wall, pick up his coffee cup and have a cup of coffee. And of course, if he's a first lieutenant, he gets 5% off on the cost of the coffee. Just right off the bat. And he doesn't take the coffee cup home. He leaves it there and the waitress will pick it up and clean it and put it back on the shelf for him for the next time. So you can see how that would be, it's an ego booster and pride of ownership in something, okay? So now, keeping in mind that we have tried to make this a destination place, some place where people are going to want to go, not just go kill a day, for instance. And in doing so, you see we've already got the family involved and look what's going on, okay? So I'm going to back up a second and let's assume this family has some toddlers and on up the ladder. Okay, so once you come through the museum part, the airplane museum part, into the activities room, we already treated the adults, and I assume that's going to be mostly the guys, but it could be females as well. We're taking care of them, and then let's say we have toddlers, okay? Okay, we have set up on a table 3 of those type of boards where round pegs into round holes and square pegs and square holes and so on. Okay, so there'll be 3 of them, and above each one, as you go through each one, the first one would say normal, a normal pilot, we'll say, and then an exceptional pilot, or no, great pilot here, and then an exceptional pilot over here in the third area. In other words, there's a lot to be worked out on this. For instance, how long a time do we want, and what will we consider difficult as each step goes up. But that's to be decided later on. So the parents have a chance to look at their children and watch them go through the channels of each one of these things, and as they improve, because they're proud of their children, okay? Plus the kids are learning. Now, let's step up the ladder and say the next grade or 2, there'll be another table over there where we have a high school kid, girl or boy, with little balsa wood glider airplane. Very cheap, very expensive things. They cost us 57 cents a piece. We sell them for about $1.50 a piece, and we let the kids put them together with the help of the girl, and they got marker pens and crayons. They can put their name on their airplane or draw pictures, and we have a bunch of stickers like animal stickers and Disney stickers. And in other words, they personalize their airplane while they're doing it. Now they take that home with them, and then they can fly. So here again, we're going up this chain of command. Okay, now the next thing in our activities room is where we deviate a little bit from airplanes to cars, and we're doing this through remote control. Now the idea here is to teach the kids and adults the use of remote controls, hand-eye dexterity. I'm assuming you're in this room and you're looking over and you see this table, this 8 by 12 foot long table, and it actually, if you think about it and you look at it real close, you'll notice it's a duplication of the Indianapolis 500 racetrack. I mean, everything, including the track, the banking of the ends of it, the seating area, the down infield area, and so on. So these kids and adults, I assume it's going to probably be more adult because they're going to say that's too much fun for them kids, would master the art of driving their little car around this track on this racetrack. Now, at some point in time, at the end of, now for instance, I have this set up in seasons. All this is debatable, just depending on the accessibility or the amount of people that participate in the favorability remarks we get on. But anyhow, I'm setting it up, like I say, for 3-month time periods. So the first 3 months, like January, February, and March. The first 2 weeks in January would be, the track would be available so the people could learn to run their track, get used to it. Okay. Now, here's another thing too. We're going to make these people that are going to race get certified. In other words, they have to go in front of my board of governors who are watching them on the track as they before the racetrack starts, to see are they capable of going around there. Okay, and once they, of course, they're not probably going to be at the start of it. They'll learn. That's the idea. The first 2 or 3 weeks is to get them acclimated to learning how to control their car as they run around the track. Now, at the end of that a given time period, we actually hold races, and we have a lap time, so positioning just like the Indy 500. And then, of course, you get points for that. We do this 2 ways. We do this in drivers get points and the car owner gets points. I can foresee where drivers who are become very acclimated to this and winners, just like today's Indy 500, sponsors are chasing them to come run my car so I can win. Okay, and I can see that happening and people trying to reach that point to where they're there. And of course, I'm thinking ahead for marketing and everything. I'm even looking at selling billboards around that racetrack to the local businesses for X amount of dollars a month and so on. So anyhow, so that's that. Now, I've told you that's the Indy 500, or what I call, when we get down there, because this is all going to take place in the Durham, Raleigh, North Carolina area, okay? Because that's where we're going to. I call this the Raleigh 500, okay, for keeping track of things. Now, I said 3-month period. Okay, that's the first time period. Then January, February, March, then April, May, and June. What we do is we pick that racetrack up and pull the other one down from the other wall, and it's laid out in the Le Mans style. In other words, like in Europe, where they run through the cities and around and so on, instead of just around the track. Okay, and it's the same scenario, same thing again. Now, the third training session or race session I think we may have to go outside during the summer for this one, because it's drag racing. We have drag racing with the Christmas tree lights going on and off, and they take off and go, and the burnout of the wheels with the racetrack car and everything. So, and of course, but all of these things, we give trophies with them. The winners put their name on the trophy, and they get to keep it in the restaurant, in the display area, the museum, so on. The fourth one, this one, I'm not so sure. I like it. I like the idea of it because I grew up in this arena. but I'm not sure that the local kids are going to. It's called the Demolition Derby. You remember when everybody went out on the track and they started their car, and whoever the last one to run was the winner. They banged into each other. Well, I think that would be a fun thing. At least I think it would be. I'd like to try it and see if how our fans respond to it. Now, all of these are changeable depending on the validity of them and the popularity of them. We can extend some or shorten some depending on what the needs were. Okay, so that's the first two facets of our facility. The third facet is a gift shop, and I have, over my career as a hobbyist and so on, I have manufactured and made a ton of neat things you would not believe. You'll never find them in a store anywhere, and plus stuff that you would find in a store that are unique. But it's more on the military end of the game, because before I started all this idea of this thing, I had a company called Military Presentations, where I specialized in 1/6 and 1/3 scale guns and helmets and paraphernalia for the military from all the way back from Davy Crockett up to today. I probably have, in the town I'm in right now, and have the largest gun collection of anybody in the country. But the problem is you can't shoot anything because they're only 6 inches or 3 to 4 inches long. But they look like almost like you put a bullet in and you can shoot yourself. So anyhow, in other words, the gift shop would be the third area that the people could actually gotta make money to support this place, okay? And then, of course, the fourth and final one is the restaurant. Now, the restaurant would be more of an eat and dance type area, and it's done in the World War I French Riviera decor type thing, with a lot of paraphernalia that I have sitting around that matches that time period. Chianti bottles hanging off the wall and all that kind of stuff. And then here again, now keep in mind, let's assume this is up and running. Here we have all these people coming to this thing, and you have some of these guys who are the club members, and there's a ton of things we can do with this museum concept. Okay, for instance, in the restaurant, anybody that shows up in a World War I costume, we give a 10% discount. Let's assume that we might have costume night, one night a month where you could dress up. To get into the place, you have to have some kind of a costume, whether it's a female nurse or whatever be the case, or a soldier, a pilot, whatever. But you have to come in dressed in that decor. And then we have a audience participation winner of achievement award. And of course, we give prizes. We might give money. We might give free meals, whatever be the case. Folks, there is just a whole series of things that can be done off of this thing. We can have karaoke night one night. It's just whatever it is. Now, I hope I haven't left out anything, and I'm sure I have, but we are moving to the Durham-Raleigh community within the next 12 months, my family and I. And this is where I want to put this facility. With AI's help and guidance, I have put together quite a bit of information. For instance, I ask AI, I says, if I do this under this scenario with this education, with an extremely strong play on educational, what could I expect in the way of people to visit? I believe it or not, they came back, says between 50 to 75,000 people a year should, out of because Raleigh has about a little over 2 million people, so that's what I could expect. Now, it's $5 an entrance. That's a lot of money there, just the entrance, not alone dues for cars and gifts and everything else, and meals and whatever else. So I think the money there is there, but I'm not doing it predominantly for the money, but it's a necessary evil, I guess, in order to sustain itself. I think 10,000 square feet will solve it. Okay, if it don't, we'll cut short and do some more later. One other item in reference to this 10,000 square feet is I want to have a free video or a movie night during the summer months, once every other week, and that's where on the side, outside in the grass area, where people can put lawn chairs and blankets and whatnot, can sit, and on the side of one of our buildings will be a big screen where for free we show airplane movies predominantly to start out with. Now I don't know. I have a bunch of them right now, and they're just entertaining as all heck. Okay, I in the community I'm in right now in West Virginia. My community does that in one of the park areas, and it is extremely successful. It brings a lot of people out, and they don't have to spend money. If they want to bring their own popcorn, they can. I might have a popcorn machine and sell a bag of popcorn. I don't know, but it's not to make money. It's more to support the community and get them involved. Just like the signs on the racetracks, we're going out and ask the community businesses to purchase the signs rental like so much a month for a given period of time to get the community involved. Okay, how much do I need to do this? I can't give you an exact number right at this point in time, but I'm estimating $400,000. That's involving buying the property, putting up some kind of like a steel building that's maybe say 50 by 200 feet long or something like that, and all the electronic stuff that goes in it and everything. So I ask you to sincerely consider some kind of a grant from your foundation, if you would please, for the aerodrome in the Raleigh community, and help me fulfill my dream. I realize my age is getting up there, and I've made arrangements that if something happens to me, what happens to the community, to the program, and my family. I have 4 children who would be glad to step in and help. Plus, I have a young man that I just brought on that I'm very pleased with, that I'm pruning to be the manager of this thing, because I realize I may not have forever to live on, but I would like to pass it on to the community. In other words, I really in hopes that there's something in my life I can leave to the community that I can be proud to say, hey, Bill Blair was here at one time. Okay, so again, I ask you, please consider us in your grant considerations for the Early Airplane Museum in North Carolina. This is Bill Blair. Thank you again, and talk to you later. Bye-bye.